Not many can be trusted with a task like this. Lucky we've got you.
What's up, Epic 7? It is a new month, and we have a new set of expeditions. I'm sorry this video is a little bit late in coming, but hey, everybody, including myself, was farming that Overlord event extra hard, and nobody had time for expeditions, and very few people were putting up posters. Honestly, I think that's why we're getting a buff event, is so that we can get some posters to catch up on the expeditions. But enough of that. I want to go over my 3 favorite teams with some options for how to solo full clear the green, light, and red expeditions. First, we're going to talk about the fire expedition. There's no real change from the expedition team that I used in the past. We're still going to use Camilla, Brieg, Commander Lorena, and Tamarin. Now, fire is the easiest expedition to solve. There are a variety of units that you can use. You can use Luna. You can even use the 3-star unit Lena to do this. If you have a solution that's working for you, don't fix what isn't broken. I like this team because to date, I have not found a faster team. It clears incredibly fast. Here's the unit builds. The only thing I changed on Brieg from last time is I did move him onto Wings of Light and Shadow. In the past, I've run him on the Sword of Azera artifact, and the reason for that is the last rotation we had the Dark Expedition, and Brieg has a really hard time surviving in the Dark Expedition without Sword of Azera. But without the Dark Expedition, Wings of Light and Shadow should take care of it, and it gives him the crit chance he needs to be 100% crit, and increases his damage, making him a more effective damage dealer. 173 speed, as tanky as you can get him, at least 35% effectiveness so he can stick his debuffs. Next is Camilla. Now in the past we've needed 200 effect resistance on Camilla to maintain her attack buff, but that's no longer the case. I just run her middling speed with good damage, get her as close to 100% crit as you can, get her to 85% effectiveness, and she is additional chances for defense break, but even that is not really important because Brieg spams so many defense breaks, you probably won't need it. If you have Benimar's Tachi, it just makes her a lot more effective. If you don't have Benimar's Tachi, she works just fine without it. For a support unit, we'll be running Tamarin. The ER and effectiveness really isn't necessary for this fight. I just have it on there for the Nightmare Queen fight. All that's important is that she is relatively fast and that she cycles her skills. Magahara's Tome is a great way to cycle her skills. You can also use Prophetic Candlestick to help cycle her skills. The goal is we want to get her S2 office, or her idle form, so she can S2 as soon as possible to secure the attack buffs for Camilla and push the team. And speaking of pushing the team, we're going to be running Commander Lorena, my favorite unit for this. I have her on the artifact Our Beautiful Seasons. You can run her on a variety of damage artifacts, up to everything from Victorious Flag all the way up to and including, no kidding, Ancient Sheath. So as long as you put some good damage on her, I have her on a Rage Pen set. It's not required, but the more damage she does, the faster you're going to clear this. So Rage Pen if you can pull it off. 100% crit chance. And that's it. Here's how the team runs. You want to have Camilla's skills turned off, especially if you have Benimar's Tachi.
Fight together.
Grant me power, Lord Noyas.
We get some damage right out of the gate.
Spare. For your reckless greed.
Look at Commander Lorena just cycling over and over and over again because of her built-in CR push, and now you're out of the break phase. This is why you don't need to worry about having Tachi on your Camilla or ER on any of your units. Commander Lorena just chews through that phase.
I'm ready.
Now we're back to doing serious damage. The constant CR pushing of Commander Lorena every time Camilla dual attacks is what cycles this team so fast.
Go away.
Tamarin keeps everybody healthy. Brieg maintains the defense breaks with his extra proc.
You degrade yourself further.
The slow debuff makes it even faster.
Listen.
We've cycled around so much, Tamarin is already ready to transform, which again, CR pushes the whole team, and here's your attack buff for Commando Arena if you're not running Tachi.
Feel my might in the point of my spear.
The time has come. Cover me.
Let's fight together. Together. I'm ready.
Drive them out!
Let's fight together.
One of the nice
ladies
things about
and
this fight, what makes it so fast and so consistent, is the constant presence of a defense break and the almost constant presence of a slow debuff.
I'll leave it to you. Yep,
An opening!
I'm ready. All enemies will fall to my spear. Yes,
I want you guys to take a quick gander at the health bar over top of the Ferris. He has just now got to the halfway point. So he is just now on his next turn, ready to do his second jump to put us into that
For your
restrict phase.
reckless greed.
But look how much damage we're doing, especially with Tam cycling. He's gonna die before we even get to that second phase. Technically, this team could kill the Ferris twice in the amount of time you need to complete this.
All my might.
here. Let's fight together.
An opening!
I'm ready.
And there he is, dead before the second phase. 1.8 million, incredibly easy full clear team. This was so fast, that's why I said if you don't have a rage set for your Commander Arena, if you don't have the stats that I have, this team will still pull it off for you. But now let's move on to something new.
Unrest to the sanctuary.
Let's talk about the green expedition, the Blooming Snag Lich. The Blooming Snag Lich still is the classic loser squad fire team. Units you're probably not going to use anywhere else in the game have found a home here. We'll go over some alternatives to each one. The first thing you're probably noticing is where's your Soul Weaver? How are you going to survive this with no healing? Well, the way we survive this is with Bomb Model Kana. Now, if you don't have Bomb Model Kana, you can pick her up from the connections. What makes her so great for this is all of her attacks hit multi-target, and single target attacks do almost no damage to the Blooming Snag Lich. So you want to pick units that do multi-target hits. And because Kana has built-in dual attack stance, does pretty good damage, and always does multi-target attacks, Bloodstone lets her be our healer. Now, if you do not have Bloodstone, you don't want to run this specific unit. If you don't have Bloodstone, just swap Bomb Model Kana out for Mascot Hazel and you will be just fine. Mascot Hazel is still a full clear, just not quite as fast as using Bomb Model Kana because you lose out on some damage, but if you don't have Bloodstone, this is your unit. Next on the team is our frontline knight, Cecilia. Now, Cecilia was made for this fight, or I should say this fight was made for Cecilia since the fight came later. What makes Cecilia so good for this is with this EE, she gives a speed down to the enemy. Oh, and Bomb Model Kana gives a speed up. So you've got speed up for you, speed down for them. It's a 60% speed variance. Also, Cecilia has a defense break on her S1, a pretty high chance defense break. Her S2 strips the enemy and gives them attack down so they don't hit nearly as hard. Her S3 gives immunity and barrier to your team, protecting you from the poisons and from damage. They're really, and well, not all of her attacks, but 2 of her attacks are AoE. This one is single target, but who cares? It gives you defense break. Makes Cecilia the best knight for this. Now, if you don't have Cecilia, you could run in her place Lilius. Although she's a single target attack, she will dual attack with AoE units, so that's great. She doesn't have immunity, but she does have a cleanse, so it makes her decent for this. You could also run Adventurer Ross. His S3 does give everybody defense buff. He doesn't give immunity or anything like that, other than his S2 giving immunity to the highest attack unit, and he does have a defense break on his S2, but he does his S1 a lot, and that's predominantly wasted. I have seen people run Charlotte. I've not tested her out, but in theory she would be really good. She doesn't do anything for support on your team, but she is additional damage and she can hang out in the tank spot taking hits. I think if you run Charlotte, you're going to probably want a cleanser like mascot Hazel in place of Bomb Model Kana. The next is our damage dealer Mercedes. I'm not even going to get into alternatives for Mercedes because everybody has Mercedes. Like, it's not even possible to sell or imprint, you know, to transmit her away, I don't think. I've got mine on a counter set. You could run yours on Destro or speed set, but I do believe counter is the best. You want her on her Magic for Friends artifact for extra hits. She is one of our principal damage dealers. She attack buffs the whole team. She hits multiple times. She spams AoE attacks, and because of that, she will hit the crystal so many times that we will maintain the antidote for the neurotoxin easily and not have to worry about the debilitative effects of neurotoxin. And our principal debuffer is going to be none other than Fireball and Cezanne. I know, nobody wants to run this unit, nobody likes this unit. There are alternatives, but Ball is fantastic for this, primarily because all of Ball's attacks are multi-target, and his mods are really high, especially his S2. This guy hits like a truck, and he's got decreased defense and decreased speed in his kit, so he is a backup to Fire Cecilia, who also has defense break on her S1 and speed down on her S2. If Ball doesn't stick either of them, Cecilia can pick up the slack. And his S1 inflicts poisons and hits pretty heckin' hard. So if you've got Ball, he is definitely the best choice for a debuffer. His cooldowns may look long, but that's why we're going to run Etika Scepters for a 1 in 3 chance, better than 1 in 3 chance to lower his skill cooldowns, help him cycle even faster. The Unity set's kind of a meme. You don't really need that. You just want him to have decent effectiveness. Now, 85% effectiveness would be the best. I don't quite have it, so there's a little bit of RNG to me sticking the debuffs. Maybe I'll move some pieces around with free on equip and find a way to get the additional 10% or 8% effectiveness on them. But for right now, it is what it is. Hey, look at that. He's got 85% effectiveness now, so we will have our maximum chance to stick debuffs. So let's see how this team works. Oh, options. If you don't have Fireball or just don't want to run him, one of the best units to replace him with really is Fire Tenebria. Fire Tenebria does have defense breaks on her S3, and her S2 is an AoE hit. Her S1 single target, which means she will not do nearly as much damage as Fireball and Cezanne, but more people have Tenebria than Ball built, so there you go. Other options would include any multi-target DPS unit. You start to rely on Cecilia only for the defense breaks, but you could run Champion Zerato, you could run Green Vildred, you could run Fire Kayron. There's a variety of units that always multi-target attack with their skills that you can put in its place just to supplement damage. Here's how this team works. Everybody's skills on, press auto. You want Cecilia fast for this reason. You want her to S3 and give everybody immunity. That will keep you from getting poisons when the Lich takes his turn. Ball applies his defense break, and we got the slow as well.
So much trouble after this.
Bomb Model Kana uses her S3, and this will give speed buff to the entire team. And now we're zooming.
Unveil your
Mercedes
eye
does
of
her
terror.
attack. Now everybody has attack buff as well. We're immune to the poisons, so we don't take damage there. Now note Bomb Model Kana took some pretty serious damage there,
Blood to dust. Huh?
but using Bloodstone, she healed almost back up to full.
Obey me.
And with how fast we're cycling, the combination of slow and speed, we're going to be able to cycle around so much that Bloodstone will keep us healthy. Etika Scepter putting in work. Ball already did his S3 a second time.
Let's fight together.
Dual attack stance working on Bomb Model Kana. Now you notice the little number above the crystal, the 4, and every time the crystal is hit, that number drops. When that number drops to 0, the skill null goes away, and if you hit the crystal one more time, it will apply the antidote to neurotoxin to your entire team. And you want to maintain that antidote, because when neurotoxin goes off, it takes like 80%, 80-90% of your health away. It pretty much puts you on death's door. So that's why all of these multi-target attack units aren't good just for damage. They're also good for maintaining the antidote to this neurotoxin debuff that we're all wearing.
Lance of Steel.
Skill null is off the crystal, one more hit,
Blood to dust.
and antidote is reapplied.
Obey me. Obey me.
And here we are at 900,000. That's halfway to 1.8 million. And the Lich still has not done his AoE attack that puts poison. There's the AoE attack. We were a little bit slow on Cecilia, so she didn't get the immunity up. So we're going to have to wear and deal with some poisons. We should be able to recover from it.
You'll be destroyed.
Oh, great, Cecilia. Now you give us immunity. GG. So maybe just a hair more speed on Cecilia will make this a little more stable, keep the immunity buff up, and you don't have to worry about the poison so much. But I'm telling you, Bomb Model Kana on Bloodstone is enough to stay ahead of all of this, especially with the barriers that we get from Cecilia. Now, if you are using Kana like I'm using as your principal healer, make sure she's built with damage.
Obey me.
Because Bloodstone heals based on the damage you do, so you want to make sure that your Bomb Model Kana can hit as hard as reasonably possible while maintaining enough speed that she cycles her healing fast enough.
Are you ready, my lady?
Etika Scepter procs again.
Trivial fools.
And we re-up the defense break and the slow debuff for another 2 turns.
Did I forget to ask?
Bomb Model Kana flies into the air with her S3, activating her dual attack stance and giving everybody a speed buff.
Bones to sand.
Blood to dust. Disappear.
Strip just in time for an S3 immunity.
Call. Unveil
In
your
comes
eye
Mercedes
of
with her
terror.
S3, giving everybody an attack buff. Running a little bit behind on damage on this one.
My lady?
We're at 1.6 million. The boss is about ready to take his last turn before berserking.
Obey me. Obey me.
Boss is ready for berserk mode, but he is never going to get to use it because Bomb Model Kana flies over his head and deforces that Lich right out of the game. 1.8 million on a single entry. I don't think I've had this team fail me yet. It is clean and fast. The only way this fails is if you just don't quite have the damage numbers you need to kill it in the allotted amount of time. But even if you don't, even if you fall a little bit short, you end it with like less than 100k left on his health, somebody will come along and clean it up for you.
Oh, you think it's too much to handle alone? Don't worry. You'll
Now
have
for the
plenty of
last
help.
fight, the Pain Pursuer Moroi. This one used to be one of the hardest ones to deal with, but Brieg came along and trivialized it. So let's talk about Brieg. He is by far and away the best for this. If you don't have Brieg, then Fire Cecilia, the same build that we ran her in Blooming Snag Lich, is an acceptable second place. You may not get the full clear every time, but you will score deep enough that other people should take care of it for you. If you do not have Brieg or Cecilia, you'll want to run probably Ross. I do not recommend Lilius because you want units that can self-buff. And Cecilia self-buffs, Brieg self-buffs, Ras self-buffs. Lilius doesn't really self-buff. Same Brieg as we ran before. You can run him on Sword of Azera if you are struggling with him staying alive, but I don't think you'll have that issue if he is well built enough. 35 minimum effectiveness, so he can stick his debuffs. And I say 35 because his innate passive gives him an additional 50, taking you up to the 85 effectiveness threshold to stick debuffs in Expedition. Much damage as you can give him while maintaining his bulk and effectiveness. Next on the team is Zealot Carmen Rose. Look, I know you guys don't like building specialty change units. Build her. Her specialty change is not that hard. And it's like the developers designed this entire fight around her kit to make her kit more relevant. Let me explain. In this fight, you need to be able to strip because the boss gives himself a defense buff. And a buff block is really good to keep him from getting that buff back. Oh, and her S3 has both of those, buff block and a strip, all built into it. And it also increases her attack and defense, so she hits even harder after you do this skill. Her S2 has a slow built into it. We've discussed before how important a slow debuff is to clearing in one turn. And it also increases her own speed by 2, or her own speed by 2 turns. That lets her cycle her S3, her strip and buff block, more often so she can constantly maintain that. And her S1 hits like a truck and has a lifesteal already built into it, so she's self-sustaining. On top of that, her mods are great, and as a mage she can wear Caladra, so she hits like a truck. There are times when she hits harder than my Sirmia. If you can pull off a rage set, do it. Do think you want a little bit of speed on her, so go for some speed boots and try to get her in, in the 160 plus speed range to cycle her skills. If you can't pull off the rage set, go speed set, go destruction set, whatever you need. Just try to get her as much damage as you can at a middling speed point. And she only needs about 35% effectiveness because she has built-in passives that let her do additional, have additional effectiveness so that she will reliably stick and strip. It's in her skill tree. You can look it up yourself. There really are no replacements for Zealot Carmen Rose. You can try to find some, but none of them will let you full clear the way Zealot Carmen Rose does. Next on the team is Cerise. Now the only thing unusual about this Cerise is you want to build her with a 100% crit chance. Either give her a crit chance or crit damage neck, or even an attack neck, but make sure she has a 100% crit chance with a little bit of damage stats. I know that seems weird, but you don't need her to be opener level speed. 250, 240, even that's fine, but build her fast and give her some damage. And the reason is your only source of healing is the vampirism effect that you get when you attack. You can only self-heal. So giving Cerise a little bit of damage will help keep her alive because she's not very tanky. Now, she does need 85% effectiveness. I am overcapped at 107. So I could turn the crit chance imprint on, but nobody on my team really needs the crit chance, so I'm just leaving it alone. I'm putting the Song of Stars artifact on her for additional debuffs, additional damage from target and 15%. You could put Miss Confile on her to make your team more reliable at defense breaking, but I'm trusting that Brieg can maintain the defense breaks just fine. If you wind up running Ross or Cecilia in the night spot, then you might want to consider running Miss Confile as a source of defense break, or Elegiac Candle. I guess that would work as well. An alternative to Cerise, if you do not have her or just do not want to play her, Green Asaria works very, very well. She has strip, she has defense breaks, she can wear Song of Stars, but it felt weird enough putting a little bit of damage on Cerise. It feels really weird putting damage on Asaria, because Asaria is going to need to hit a little bit harder than Cerise, because Asaria isn't going to cycle as often as Cerise, and Cerise gets the protection of a gold immortality shield for 1 turn, keeping her from taking more damage. So if you decide to go with the Asaria build, that will work, but build her with a lot more damage than you would build this Cerise. A lot more damage that you would normally put. I think when I did it, I ran a destruction set. Not kidding, Asaria. And finally, my DPS unit. There is none better than Sirmia. For this, you want to make sure that your DPS unit, again, self-buffs. There are better options than Border Coin, but I'm going to put it on her just because I don't want to take those items off of other units. But you can put her on, what's it called, Golden Rose. You can put her on Sigurd's. You can put her on Victorious Flag. You could put her on Our Beautiful Seasons. Anything to bolster her damage would be fine. I like her on the S1 EE, so you get those chances for double procs, but really her EE doesn't matter terribly much in this. If you can pull off a pen set, that's even better. Most of my gear is pretty spread out, and the only time I'm really using Sirmia is Holo Trials, and she gets a custom build then anyway, so this build works out fine. I do think she needs to be on speed boots. If you run her at base speed, she will not take enough turns. She definitely won't take enough turns to warrant her EE or her artifact, so slap her on some speed boots, give her rage set if you can. If not, go destruction set, go triple torrent, hell, go speed set, whatever it takes to get as much damage as possible, and keep her in the mid 100s for speed range. And this is how the team works. All skills on for this one.
Sorry.
Cerise starts out with her
But I have
S3.
no intention
You will
of
notice
losing.
that this procs a defense buff on the boss.
Why don't you beg for
And then
forgiveness?
Zealot Carmen Rose, her S3, strips it right off and replaces it with
The
buff
time
block.
has
Now we
come.
don't have to worry about the defense buff coming back.
Each meaningless
Breed comes in,
outburst.
drops his S3, which should give us a defense break.
You degrade yourself.
There it
first.
is.
Enough.
Sirmia S3s, good damage into that defense break.
This way.
With an S2, we can extend the buff block and we apply target. She laps around for a dual attack. Luckily, we went with Sirmia. Did you see how hard Zealot Carmen
Keep
Rose hit
watching,
there?
everyone.
Pan it back if you didn't see how hard that hit. First border coin proc for Sirmia. She hits for 80k damage.
Nice.
Another 72k on the dual attack. 40k coming in from a non-attack buff Zealot Carmen
This
Rose.
can't be helped. This is going to hurt.
Cerise cycles around real quick. This strip is nice if the defense buff is back, but we still have the buff
I
block
have
up.
no mercy to
Breed
spare.
reapplies his defense break and slow.
For your reckless greed.
I got this.
Sirmia, oh wow, with a
I'll
dual
take
attack
you
from
somewhere
Zealot.
Nice. So be good and follow me.
Zealot
How
stacks up the
naive.
buff block. We reapply the
Grant
target,
me
all the
power,
buffs are
Lord
restored.
Royas.
The barrier from Breed is part of what helps
Help.
keep him alive in this.
There's nothing more absurd than the arrogance of a fool.
You can't run from me. Assist me.
Now, if you decide to go with a DPS other than Sirmia, that's
I
fine.
have
Try to
no
make sure you take
mercy
one
to
that
spare.
self-buffs and one that doesn't suffer from having passive
For your
losses.
reckless
That's about the
greed.
only issue.
Teach them a lesson.
That's the big reason we're not
didn't
using
want
Commander
to have to
Lorena
do
here
this,
is
but it seems
she
I
doesn't
have
self-buff,
no choice.
and the restrict buff
You owe me.
is debuffs.
There's no
You see the red
mercy.
hourglass over everybody's head?
Get a
It's in the
rewind.
debuff, so it prevents Benimar's Tachi from operating.
This is why you should have listened to me. Give up now.
Annoying, it strips everything and self-cleanses. Now his defense buff is back.
On my way.
Out of respect, I'll use all my might.
Get an extra attack, here we go, and now we can strip that defense buff away. Replace it with a
You
defense
degrade
break.
yourself first.
There's no escape. Assist me. You owe me one. It can't be helped.
Now because she
This is
doesn't
going
have
to
buff
hurt.
block up, this will reproc the defense buff.
Attack.
Retribution. How about we try a little harder? Enough.
A little unfortunate timing that this goes into the defense buff, so it only hits for
This way.
57k. Now we've got the buff block up,
I'll take you somewhere
and now we
nice.
strip the defense
So
buff, and we're
be
back to
good
doing
and
really...
follow
Oh,
me.
we didn't strip.
There's nothing
15% in PvE, am I right, guys? That's okay. There's so many strips on
the
this team.
arrogance of a fool.
Brieg takes care of it between Cerise's S3, Brieg's S2, and Zealot Carmen Rose's S3. You shouldn't have any problem keeping the strips off of your team. Or keeping the defense off of the enemy with your
The
strips.
time has come. I have no mercy.
Notice how
to
well
spare.
Cerise is maintaining her health, and that's because
For
of her
your
crit
reckless
chance and a little bit of
greed.
crit damage, and her gold shield phase is allowing her to
But I have
heal
no
up. Even though she
intention
is
of
not
losing.
doing much damage at all, right? 7k damage. It's enough for
How
the
naive.
vampirism buff to keep her healthy.
Keep watching, everyone. Can you hold out much longer? Shall we bet on it?
Stupid strip.
beg for forgiveness?
Great timing though. We're right into Zealot Carmen Rose's S3, and she got 15% in on all of it. No defense, no buff block,
Assist
no
me.
strip, none of it. So that slows us down a little bit. Brieg takes a couple of hits to the face. Oh no, our Cerise is gone. But you
Out
know
of
what?
Respect, I'll use all my might.
That's all it took.
There's nothing
Brieg
more
should drive this home
absurd
and win the day for us.
than the arrogance of a fool.
Easy 1.8 million run. I don't think I've seen this fail yet. I'm sure it could. I'm sure RNG could go absolutely abysmal and you just never strip and never land defense breaks. Of course, there is a fail condition if you have an incredibly unlucky run, but it's the most consistent full clear 1.8 million I've seen, and it lets you take care of what is arguably considered the hardest of the expedition fights.
An unknown power has brought unrest to the sanctuary.
Hopefully that helps you guys out. This will be up for another 2 months, and then we'll see what the next rotation holds. But these are my teams. If you think you have better teams, if you have better ideas, share them with everybody. I'm sure people who don't have these units would appreciate your optional teams. So listen, and I'll try them out. If I think they're really good, maybe they'll be in the next video. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Happy farming, and good luck out there. Take care, everybody.